This is a video version of the main tutorial. We recommend you do the main tutorial in the game at least once because it is more verbose and goes at your pace. Use this tutorial video as a quick refresher in case you forget anything. This video is not as detailed, but it is faster to go through than the in-game tutorial. This area is the main menu. You can change settings, load save games, and start new games from this room. At the top right is the Help button. This button is in every room in the game. You can use it to enable or disable in-game tutorials, bring up the game manual, open up the chat, or watch these video tutorials inside the game. Clicking on the New Game button will open the New Game window. The New Game window gives you several starting options, including the starting game year, difficulty level, and which map you want to play. Changing the map will change any year and option settings you made because maps can have different starting years. You can find additional advanced game options here. You must set a save name for the game in this window. Do that here. This area is the headquarters selection screen. Unless you disabled it, you will start with an improved factory and branch in the city you select. The headquarters also determines several other variables in the game, such as your tax rate or military contracts. If you are starting before 1950, you'll want to select a North American or Western European city with a population greater than 1 million and a high per capita compared to the rest of the world. If you're starting after 1950, most of the game world should be playable, although North America and Western Europe will provide an easier start to the game. Select a city, then provide your name, your company's name, and select a logo. For easier games, or if you have a slow computer, select fewer AI companies from this drop-down. This area is the office. The office is the main hub of the game. From here, you can access every other part of the game, which we refer to as rooms. The office also contains some unique features, which we cover in other tutorial videos. Your mouse highlights any clickable items in the game when you go over them. You can also use the buttons at the top. You have a brand new car company. The first thing you'll want to do is design a vehicle. But before you design a vehicle, you must design the parts of the vehicle. To design anything, you must go to the Research and Development department. Click the door, then R&D department. A vehicle requires 3 components: the chassis, engine, and gearbox. Click the Design button, and then Chassis. We have 2 methods of designing in the game, the Advanced mode and the Assisted mode. Until you are comfortable with the game, use the Assisted Designer. The Assisted Designer condenses the design process into a few simple sliders, which adjust the many sliders in the Advanced Designer. The drop-down box pre-fills the hidden sliders. You then can use these 3 sliders to adjust your engineer's design focus. You can find the ratings and details about the design in these 2 panels. And you can name the design and select the mark here. In this row are your subcomponents. The designer displays an icon with the current selection. Clicking on a blue icon will open up a list of available subcomponents. In this window, you can change the subcomponent selection. The chassis is the main platform for the vehicle. As such, your engine designs must fit inside the chassis. You'll find the maximum supported engine length and width here. To check if they fit, You can click this button and then select the engine. Currently, we do not have an engine, but a similar tool is in the Assisted Engine Designer. For your first car, you should make a sedan. Ideally, you should not make the design too expensive. Aim for approximately 30 to 50% on the 3 sliders. When you are happy with your design, click the Design It button. Now we need to do the same process to get an engine and a gearbox. Be sure to use the Assisted Designer. The Engine Designer works nearly the same as the Chassis Designer. To check if the engine fits in the chassis, click this button. Then select the chassis from the list and hit Select. This area will tell you if the engine fits, and if not, how many inches or millimeters oversized it is. Until you become experienced at the game, only use the gasoline fuel type. Other fuel type popularity values can destroy your company if you are not careful. Finally, design the gearbox. With the Assisted Gearbox Designer, you'll find a Select Engine tool. This tool is to check if the gearbox can support the engine's torque output. It works similarly to the other check tools. Like the real world, your engineers cannot finish the designs instantaneously. You have only provided demands to your engineers. Now they must design the products. Return to the office. Now you must simulate a few months to design the components. How many months? Move the mouse to the right side of the screen. There you'll find a pop-out window. At the top of this window is the number of months it will take to finish the designs. We also provided this information when you were designing the components. Note the longest month and then click the clock. Enter that value in the text box, and click Yes. The game will simulate a few turns. Be sure to keep the window focused, as the game will stop calculating if you run off and do something else. Once the turns stop processing, unless an event slowed them down, you've completed your component designs. Check the side pop-out to confirm they're finished. Or click the memos glowing yellow on the desk. If you finished the components, return to the R&D department. Now it is time to design your vehicle. Click Design, then Vehicle, and then Assisted. The Assisted Vehicle Designer works similarly to the components, except there is a body design process. Click the drop-down at the top, and select Sedan. Next, click Design Body. You have 2 choices to design the body. You can use a pre-made design or design one yourself. The customized designer is difficult for some users, so we recommend using the pre-made designer until you get a feel for the game. Click Pre-Design, then select a vehicle from the list. When you've found the design you like, click the Select button. The Assisted Designer window will reappear. You can now adjust the sliders. You can view the ratings and costs changes to your design in these 2 panels. And you can access more detailed specs using the Ratings button. Be sure to name your vehicle here. You can also select a mark from the drop-down or add a trim identification to the design as well. When you have completed your design, click the Design It button. Return to the office. Check the side panel for the number of turns you need to simulate, and then click on the clock. Enter the turns and click Yes. By now, your team should have finished your vehicle. Check the side panel to verify this is the case, or click on your memos. Great! Now we need to produce the vehicles and offer to sell them to dealerships. Click on the globe in your office. This area is the world map. It will look similar to the headquarters selection room. Cities with factories will have a different color compared to cities with branches or cities with nothing in them. The color depends on the map. For the base city map, cities with factories are green. Click on your city with a factory. At this stage in the game, it should be the only city with a different color than the rest. The city information window will appear. Click on the factory button. This pulls up the factory window. To adjust factory production, click on the production button. This is the production window. The list at the top has all your vehicles. Select the vehicle you want to adjust from this list. This area is where you'll adjust production. The top slider is your production lines. The slider below it is how fast the production lines are producing the vehicle. Factories have a limited amount of production lines. Each production line you assign to a vehicle increases the maximum amount of units you can produce. The production speed slider determines the number of units you produce. Building more units per production line will decrease vehicle quality. And producing fewer units per line will increase quality. There are ways to determine the exact number of units you need to produce. We cover those in other tutorial videos. For this tutorial, if you started between 1900 to 1920, assign one production line using the top slider, and adjust the second slider so that you produce 10 vehicles, shown here. If you started any time after 1950, assign one production line, and adjust to 100 units. Any years between 1920 and 1950, do one production line and 50 units. Now we need to assign the vehicle for sale. Most manufacturers do not sell directly to customers. Instead, customers buy vehicles from dealerships. Dealerships are often third-party companies licensed to sell your designs. Dealerships then order the vehicles from you. Return to the city information window. There you'll find the branch button. This opens the branch window. To sell your vehicle, click the distribution button. Now the distribution window will appear. The top section is a list of your vehicles. This middle section is where you'll enter your prices and apply the changes. The bottom section is your vehicle's competition within this vehicle type. And the side panel contains useful information about your selected vehicle. Select your vehicle from the top list. The sales price will change to the recommended price. You can find the material costs of the vehicle here. I suggest using the recommended price for now, but if you needed to cut the costs, be sure it's above the material costs. Use the Apply button to assign the sale price of this vehicle to the branch. If you have multiple branches, you could use the Apply to All button. There you have it. The vehicle is now for sale. Return to the office. And end the turn. Your monthly report will pop up. If you scroll down, you'll see if you have sales or not. If there are missing sales, you need to increase production. If there are inventories, it means you need to increase sales by expanding or lowering the price. And that concludes this tutorial. Try the What Do I Do Next? Tutorial for a continuation of this playthrough. Or see other tutorials, such as Supply and Demand, for more detailed explanations of concepts and game mechanics.